guy by the name of Tatum Better Than Fultz, that's what he goes by. He messaged me and he asked me. He said, "Can you think of a way to get Bradley Beal?" Because I had mentioned this in a thread a month ago. I said it would be interesting to trade for Bradley Beal. For one thing, I think it could totally consolidate our assets. But another thing is you could potentially flip Bradley Beal with our picks for Davis this summer. And it might be a way of getting Davis without giving up Tatum. So the idea I had, I just want to kind of run it by you and tell me like if you think this is plausible. Bradley Beal makes $25 million. So in return, we could offer up Marcus Morris. Obviously, we talked about him. He might be expendable anyways. Baines, who's hurt, he makes $5 million. I like Baines, but he's another guy who I think has ability to opt out at the end of the year, so he's probably not in our long-term plans.
It'd be tough to let go of Big Dick.
Yeah. And then Jaylen Brown, who I think everyone on Reddit is obsessed with him. So as soon as you mention him, they freak
Michael
out. But
Jordan,
Michael Jordan, but Brown, you have to give up something. To get something, you have to give up something. So Brown's our main piece that we'd be giving up, and then we'd also give up Rozier and Yabu. So in total, those 5 players make $21 million. You could trade those 5 for Beal. The problem is the Wizards probably can't take on all those players, but you could loop in a 3rd or 4th team. You could end up moving Rozier and Yabu to the Suns or something, and they could take back Josh Jackson or something. But the key pieces would be for Bradley Beal, Morris, Baines, Brown, Rozier, and Yabu. And that, technically works on the trade machine. So the opinions on that ranged wildly. Right off the bat, people were like, well, that's obviously way too much to give up the Beal. Or there was a couple people who were like, obviously that's way too little. They're not going to take that shit for Bradley Beal.
Put me on that side.
Okay. All right. So, again, this is on the premise based on the Wizards are a disaster right now, and they had said that Beal was available.
Great. You wanted the Rozier, Big Dick, Yabu Smelly, and Morris for fucking an awesome player like Bradley Beal. Like, yeah, I'm in, man.
and yet on Reddit, it was like 95% saying you're insane. Why would we give up those guys for Beal? That's gonna ruin our depth.
Oh, I can't stand talking trades with Celtic homers sometimes.
Well, let's say we could do that, and let's say we had to throw open a first or something. That would leave us with, our starting lineup would be Kyrie Irving and Bradley Beal as a backcourt. They're both 25-year-old all-stars.
Yeah, fucking awesome backcourt in the league, yeah.
In the short term, you'd still have Tatum as our small forward. You'd still have Horford as our power forward, and then maybe you start Tice, who's been pretty solid. And then long term, people are hoping that Time Lord ends up being good enough to slot into our starting lineup, which, that could happen. Maybe you have Horford at power forward. That's a solid starting lineup, and you would still have Marcus Smart. You would still have, obviously off the bench, you'd have Gordon Hayward. Can't forget about him. He'd still be there.
Yes, you can.
You'd have Semi, who played great last night, and maybe with a larger role. Maybe that guy is like one of our big-time stoppers we can go to. And then you have a guy like Brad.
That leads me to a side possibility. We have to check the dates of when the movie's made, but talking about the possibility of Semi being named after Prince Hakeem's best friend in Coming to America.
Let me make a note to look that up.
Yeah. I just want to check the time frame.
But so, in other words, you're on board with the idea of having Kyrie, Beal, Tatum,
yes.
Tice, and Horford with a backup of Smart, Hayward, and Semi. That's a solid 8-man rotation right there, right? The idea was then,
especially considering what I'm looking at, this 11-man rotation that's supposed to be so great. It's terrible.
So that would definitely consolidate things, and then we'd have a bunch of open roster spots where we could go out and maybe add a couple other guys. But
and also use our first-round picks. We might have 4 of them.
Exactly. That was the other point. Is we're gonna have 4 first-round picks. So let's free up those roster spots in case we have to, use those picks. We'd have obviously roster spots to use them. But the whole premise and the reason why I did it was because this guy was like, "Is there a way to get Beal without giving up Tatum?" And then flipping Beal and those picks for Davis. And I feel like if it gets to the summer and Davis is still available and we had Bradley Beal and multiple first-round picks, I feel like that would trump every offer, and I don't think we'd have to give up Tatum. But it's totally unrealistic, and everyone agrees it's stupid. There's no way that we would be able to acquire Beal for, that kind of offer.
Did you have Jaylen Brown in the deal or no?
Yeah, so Jaylen Brown would be the main piece. I don't know, man. I actually feel like it's not that outlandish. Brown is still, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not totally out on
Brown's
Brown.
pretty
Brown
good.
has star potential still.
Well, that's why you got trashed on Reddit, because you included Brown.
That's why, right? But the other thing was like you could have Morris, you know, we're including Morris, and he and his brother could reunite on the Wizards. Like, you know, it made some sense. Rozier could come on board. Maybe they end up flipping him to a third team. So the funny thing about that is when I brought it up, there was a couple people who were like, "Oh, well, I would never do." There was a couple people who were like, "I would never add Bradley Beal unless we had some assurance that we could get Anthony Davis later." They were out on the idea of just adding Bradley Beal as is. They're like, "Oh, no way I can add Beal unless it means we're definitely gonna get Davis."
No way I want to just add a top 5 shooting guard when the Celtics don't have a shooting guard. Just in case you guys don't understand that. Exactly. We don't have a shooting guard, man. It's crazy.
And by the way, Bradley Beal is younger than Buddy Hield.
Yeah, by 6 years.
Just found it out. Ever since Hield came out and said he's 26, Bradley Beal is younger than this young rising star, Buddy Hield. And yet, that's outlandish. Why would we possibly trade Jaylen Brown for him? That's ridiculous.
If we're not going to get Davis and LeBron.
Right.
I want to be able to finish off this team.